You are listening to the default audio track, which includes instructional narrative. To turn off the instructions, simply press the audio button on your DVD remote. To go to track 2, which includes music. To turn off the music, press the audio button again. To go to track 3, which includes just the natural sounds of the ride.
Alright. We are in Port Alberni, Canada. And we're going to head over the hump and hopefully down into Qualicum without any incidents. It's cloudy again, but it's not supposed to rain until we get into the night, so we'll see. Alright, out of here. How do I get out of here? Bye.
See, have a good night.
We'll see you in about 45 minutes, right?
Yep. No more than an hour and 45, just like you said. Our little boy's growing up.
Welcome to Vancouver Island, Canada. We're in the small town of Port Alberni, which is just center of the island and about 20 miles inland from the east coast of the island. We're following a fairly popular cycling route that goes over the Hump, which is a little hill climb into the forest. And it's another gray day. I was out here for almost a week and I got nothing but rain. Well, while we're warming up the legs here, the workout will start in just a few minutes. I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine, David Justice. He'll be working with us and talking a little bit about his experiences as a cyclist, and we're going to have a little bit of fun today.
All right.
How's it going, David?
Doing well. And you?
Awesome. It's another snowy day outside while we're riding. I seem to just kind of get lucky with having snowy days. We can't actually ride outdoors.
Well, that's how I took up spin training.
So David, he teaches English language acquisition to refugee kids from all over the world.
Yes, Aurora is a refugee city known throughout the world. I didn't know that until I started teaching at Aurora.
Really? I didn't realize that either. I'm going to turn on our fan. And David is also a family man with 2 kids.
Yes.
1 boy and 1 girl.
Noah and Abigail.
And you still find time to train for triathlons.
Indeed. And just to be fit.
Yeah? Alright, so what I'm going to try and do, David, is we're going to talk a little bit about training for triathlons. We're going to talk a little bit about anaerobic fitness, but first what I'd like to do is kind of get people used to the dashboard display that just popped up. And what I need everybody to understand right now is we're actually climbing a hill here, and on the right shows our resistance of a 6 out of 10. Big ring up front if you're on a bike, and now we're going up to a 9 out of 10 on this little hill. It goes quick. Sorry about that, but I didn't put the hill there. It just happens to be there. So we're at a 9 out of 10 on resistance. Hill is shallowing out a little bit, so take off some of that resistance. Now let's get the heart rate up to about 83% of max.
I'm right there.
And we're adding more resistance here. Hill's getting steeper again. And on the left-hand side, you can see of the screen, 85% of max heart rate. Really chugging away on this steep little hill. Taking some resistance off. Now you can add, or you can hear too, the clicks in the video. I added a click each time you change the gear.
Oh, okay.
That's a new feature. I got too much resistance on my trainer. Burn myself up.
I like it.
All right. So here we're starting to flatten out just a little bit. Heart rate at 85%. You'll notice, excuse me, whew, that came on a little quick. Right below your heart rate is our power that we're producing as a percentage of max. For those of you who have a power trainer, and to the right of that shows our current cadence at roughly 80 RPM. So let's just dial that in. Keep that heart rate right around 85%. And our resistance is going into fairly easy gear, a 3 out of 10. And we're adding a little cadence to keep our speed up. So you'll see right here, the gear changes are coming pretty fast and furious. Pretty soon we'll get to the more consistent and steady part of the climb. And it's a little more predictable. Adding some resistance, heading up the hill. Now, David over there, he's got like a 1980 Trek with down to
89.
This is going to keep him busy. Oh. So Dave, whew.
Getting warmed up?
Yeah, I'm warmed up. Ready to roll.
Oh, look, there's McDonald's.
You notice we're still pedaling, right? Actually, on one of the videos, I pulled off into a McDonald's. I got some flack for it because I was just getting a drink. I was filling up my water bottle. Somebody says, "You're pulling into a McDonald's?" Let's dial up that resistance to an 8 out of 10. And now we're coming down. All right. So this is actually one of the first video where I use the power data to dial in the resistance. Technically, if you have like a 10 speed or a 9 speed, I think you got a 6.
Yeah.
It would be pretty accurate.
Well,
You're gonna have
I
to
can notice
interpolate.
the heart rate. My heart rate's right in there.
Awesome.
So I've been keeping it that way and looking at the gears.
So lower resistance, we're picking up the cadence here, about 100 RPM. Keeping that heart rate in the mid-80s. So we're trying to keep a fairly steady pace, which talk a little bit more about maintaining a consistent heart rate over an endurance event like this. That is very beneficial for time trials and triathlons. But first I wanted to talk a little bit about David because he's nice enough to be helping us out today.
My pleasure.
Oh, it's great having you. I found David on Facebook. He's a customer of mine. And took a look at his profile, and this guy's a pretty diehard triathlete. And if you look at him, he's ripped. And you've got the total build to be a triathlete, or like Lance Armstrong. Skinny, strong. But what I saw too from your profile is that you used to be a pretty heavy guy.
I put on some pounds as an executive traveling a lot.
Oh, really?
Just found it difficult to stay in shape, and 2 kids and a career, and pounds just crept on.
Yeah. Now, did you start out skinny and get heavy, or?
Well, I'd always been lean and was always into sports, and especially outdoor sports. And there was a guy growing up in my neighborhood, and he always rode a bike with all the panniers, and his thing was going on distance rides. And I made my father buy my first Fuji road bike when I was in high school, and I used to ride everywhere. And that was how I got into biking.
And so so you started out in shape, and then you kind of let things go after that, huh?
Yeah, well, when you travel and party and eat all the time with clients, after a while you rack up some pounds and find it harder and harder to find time, but I always say sleep's for wimps. So I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and start.
Oh my gosh.
So this is got my 3rd or 4th workout for the day.
You know, you're paying penance now, huh?
I love it.
Yeah?
Just let the DNA fly.
Yeah? Well, so, you know, I guess what changed to get you, getting back into shape and racing, and what happened in life, I guess, you know?
Well, at 40, my cholesterol was too high, my blood pressure was too high, and I just couldn't believe it when the doctor was sitting there telling me I needed to go on medication. So,
keep going.
I said, well, forget that. I'm going to do something about it. I'm not going to take pills. And I went home and looked at my kids and said, well, I need to get in shape. And a friend of mine who's a personal trainer who doesn't live here, I asked him what I should do. And that was how I found P90X, because first I was hesitant and said it looks like a gimmick, but once I tried it, it was the real deal.
What is that?
It's a complete weight training system where you use dumbbells, push-ups, or bands, and they have a nutrition plan, and you can take it on the road with you. So, and you do weightlifting, yoga, plyometrics, and some cardio with martial arts.
Right.
They have a Kempo workout. So I started doing that, got back into running, and then last year I got back into cycling, and we have a pool in our development, so while the kids were taking swim lessons, I'd swim. I taught myself how to swim better, and a friend of mine talked me into trying a triathlon, and did my first one, and said, okay, well, I learned about not eating fiber right away.
Right.
Because I crashed physiologically, not completely.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm gonna do this right. So I entered a half Ironman swim at the Boulder Reservoir, and then the next day you did a duathlon, and it was in Arvada, so it was my home. It's where I train all the time, and I ended up taking second place.
Wow.
In the duathlon in my age category, 40 to 45, and I took first in the overall combined with the half Ironman swim, and then I placed fourth in the Crescent Moon in September. So I was hooked.
Right.
I just love the training. I love outdoor swimming. Pool's okay. And still cross training with weights and the TRX, which is a body weight
training system.
Yeah.
And it's the straps and
at the
hang
Navy
from your
SEAL.
door. Yeah.
Well, you can hang it from the ceiling where I have it. I Well, they say one of the top two things for making a life change to be fit and eat right is, one, you have to work out at home, and two, well, three things. You have to enjoy what you're doing.
All right.
Make it a habit. And then three, just looking at food in a different way and not eating a lot of processed foods.
Yeah.
Just eating plain food. So I basically follow the paleo diet.
So enjoy what you're doing, exercise and eat right.
Exactly. But you have to like it too. So I constantly change things. I'm always looking for something new, and that was how I found spinning and bike training. Started getting too cold and running out of time and light, so I bought a bike trainer and added that to my gym.
That's awesome.
And I just was addicted after I tried it.
So now you're also, I guess you're a student to be a teacher, right?
I made a career change as well as changing what I was doing.
I guess the question is you made a lot of changes. Fitness, work. How do you blend it all together? Family, taking care of kids. What are you doing?
The state of the printing industry wasn't good, and so they were looking to get rid of a few people at work. So I took a buyout, separation agreement. Said, well, I'm not going to go back into printing, and they wouldn't let me work for the competition. So in order to get benefits and all that, so I decided to re-enroll in graduate school, because I went to Colorado State for English Lit and then left after a year to go to work.
Wow. We're big ring up front, guys. We're about at that climb here. So we're going to start kind of grinding our way up here. So add a little resistance. We're going to probably keep it in our big ring here for the next 20 or so minutes. Now we're at a 9 out of 10. We're feeling this hill. It's feeling pretty steep. Should be feeling your legs pushing down on those pedals. Nice positive pressure. 10 out of 10 here. It's a short 10 out of 10. Let's keep that cadence at about 70 and bring it back down. 9 out of 10. Heart rate's going up 90%. It's going to go up a little higher. So, woohoo! Yeah, here we go. Now, after the climb is over, it's actually when the workout gets hard. So save yourself. Take a little off. And let's just balance our heart rate. 90% of max. We don't want to go through the roof here. We got a lot of work to do. It's about an hour and 40-minute video, and I want everybody out there to finish. So, what I found that in triathletes, now I just do bike racing. I don't. I have a bad knee. I can't run, and I sink like a brick in the water.
Well, that's good though. You want to be under the water. That's what
For how long?
I had to teach myself how to swim again, because when you swim in open water and you swim for distance, a mile or 2 miles, you don't want resistance on your body, so you want to look down and you want to find your natural buoyancy, which is, for most of us, under the water. So they call it total immersion swimming, or open water swimming.
Right.
So once you get the hang of that, you can swim forever, unless you're racing really fast. But
I can swim. I just can't do it fast.
Well, so you don't have to.
No.
You just have to swim consistently.
But you know, it takes a unique breed of endurance junkie to be a triathlete.
That and obsessive compulsive disorder.
You know, the ability to push beyond what's humanly possible requires that personality. Obsessive compulsive, I guess.
Yeah.
No, I think you guys are crazy, but I want to find out a little bit more about what motivates you. You know, what kind of sick, twisted personality is required to push yourself to that point where you're about to die and collapse, but look back on it and say, that was fun.
They say once you go into the pain room, shut the door behind you. And I've done a half iron, which I just practiced at my house. I went to the pool, came home, biked 56 miles, swam the mile pool before that, and then
Trying to figure out why you keep cutting out.
ran a half marathon. And I said, well, that wasn't too bad. So I went and did a 2-mile swim one day. I biked like 80 something miles another day. This was all back to back, mind you. And I didn't recover, and I went out and went to run a marathon in the foothills. And around mile 20, I got crushed. So you have to want to do it. I had to walk home, so I completed the marathon. But I learned more about recovery.
Yeah. So what was the most challenging endurance event you've ever done?
Trying to do that marathon.
Yeah?
With no recovery. But anytime you do a triathlon, you're always trying to get everything just right. The swim, your wetsuit, the bike, is everything good on the bike?
Right.
And how to eat, and how to fuel, and where you're going to put your bike, and then the run.
Right.
So you have to pace yourself. You have to mentally dial things back. Figure where that line's going to come to where you start wearing out.
Right. Nice steep hill here.
And for me, that's about mile 20 in a marathon.
Is it? Yeah. That's where you start questioning whether or not you're going to finish or what.
Yeah, just how much you can take.
Right.
I feel like your legs are going to explode. So, still trying to figure out if I want to do the full or do just the half. Maybe do some bike races or something like that.
Right. Was there any particular event in your life outside of racing or endurance sport that made you, you know, kind of naturally overcome certain pain, or, you know,
I don't know.
You know, what makes you, I guess I'm trying to figure out what makes you tick, you know. What?
You find out if you have a knack for suffering.
Yeah, how do you prepare for that? I mean,
the only other place I've read about that is cycling, how to suffer. You can train your mind to suffer, to take pain, find out where it is, and keep pushing it. For me, it's just fatigue.
So easy spot right here, kind of recovering a little bit, letting our heart rate get below 90%. 85. We're going to start climbing again in just a sec. Well, what makes you, what do you find in yourself that's unique or different that kind of pushes you to do what you do?
That's different for everybody. I don't really know. It's like climbing mountains because of
all right.
I think the overall thing, and I've only heard one other person talk about this, is you get addicted to throwing off endorphins in your body, and serotonin, the dopamine,
Right?
everything that explodes in your body, pushing yourself.
Right?
You get addicted to it like a drug.
Yeah. Let's see if that works. So it's just mostly an enjoyment of the sport.
Two, I like being outside.
Yeah?
That's why I moved to Colorado. I can't go without the sun for too long or being outside.
Let me work on the mic just a little bit here, find out why it's cutting out. Let's give that a try.
Is it too wet?
I don't
Sweat?
know, might be. That's
The
it's done,
DNA is flying. I
it's
like
done
it.
it to me before, yeah.
Okay.
Ah,
I think that's better.
now we'll see. You still kind of hear yourself over my mic, but so we're just grinding up this grade here. We're in a big ring up front. 7 out of 10 on the resistance. And one of the things you wrote or posted anyway is that basically being an athlete gives back more than what's invested. And so, how do physical achievements, hardships in training contribute to, a certain personality?
Well, you get grumpy a lot.
Yeah. It's kind of true.
But I was reading this book. I was surveying it, and I have a lot of reading for graduate school, but it's called the Accidental Athlete. And it's about this guy who went through the same thing as me, and he got into running and doing some triathlon. But what he says is, as we get older and older as adults, we forget that inner instinct of how just to play. And you don't have to be winning races or making these grand accomplishments like Lance Armstrong or Greg LeMond.
So don't hold
Dave Scott, Alan West.
right.
But you just have to learn how to play, have fun. It's all about having fun. It's the sandbox for adults. And I've seen all kinds of people out there that they impress me more than maybe me even coming in top of my age class or something like that.
Right.
They're just out there doing their best, having fun, trying to stay in shape.
Right. What guess I'm getting at is that endurance sports, though, you may not have a certain personality at first to become an endurance athlete, but that personality evolves with the sport itself.
You can train your mind.
Yeah. And as a result, you become more courageous. Your inner strength is more increased, I guess.
That
tenacity.
87%.
Yeah, ability to.
Well, it was Lance Armstrong. He said to be a good athlete is to be able to make a complete fool of yourself and still come back.
Right.
And he talked about some of his spectacular disasters. He it wasn't the best when he started, but he trained himself to be the best because he wanted to be. But for the rest of us, it's something to do.
Right.
Instead of sitting around watching TV or going to, Commanders for the 6-course dinner down in New Orleans and gorging yourself on rich food and alcohol. How about leading a balanced life?
Well, I guess what always fascinated me is that, the physical challenges, of an endurance sport is not only physically rewarding, but I think it's actually more emotionally rewarding And I'm just wondering, what is it about the physical activity that, gives you that peace of mind or emotional rewards?
Well, I guess.
How to use the dash. The dashboard is composed of a number of different tools that provide data which allow you to emulate the physical demands of the ride. The first and most important tool on the dash is the effort meter. The effort meter provides a graphical representation of how hard you should be working during a specific part of the ride. In this video, we're ascending a small climb while trying to keep a good pace for other riders behind us. Watch how the effort increases as we continue to ascend. The effort meter is color-coded to help you quickly know what zone you should be training in, be it the weight loss zone, aerobic zone, anaerobic zone, or red zone. Each zone is based on a percentage of your maximum effort. Blue, which is below 70%, is your weight loss zone. Green, between 70 to 79% of max, is your aerobic zone. Yellow, between 80 to 89% of max, is your anaerobic zone. And red, from 90 to 100% of max, is your red zone. Be aware that the difficulty of each video is greatly dependent on the time spent in each zone. At the top of the effort meter is your heart rate goal displayed as a percentage of your max. Percent of max is calculated as your actual heart rate divided by your max. This value can be used to challenge yourself further by teaching your body how to precisely regulate efforts. Some heart rate monitors allow you to input your max heart rate and then automatically calculate your percentage of max. The gear ratio and resistance indicator provides you with two ways to determine what gear or what resistance you should be working at. The gear ratio is the best way to make changes in resistance if you're on your bike and trainer. With shifters, you can quickly make changes to gearing to simulate changes in pedaling effort. This animation provides an idea of how the gear ratio works. Notice how above the blue line, the numbers are ascending from 1 to 10. This corresponds to the gear that's in your rear cassette. Below the blue line are the two rings in the front, 42 being the small ring, 52 being the large. The resistance value is a tool to be used if you're on a spin bike. Most spinners are comfortable with a 1 to 10 scale used in classes. Basically, a 1 is a soft pedaling, easy spin resistance, whereas a 10 is a slow, leg-churning, difficult grind where you have to force the crank arms to turn. The cadence value allows you to identify what your pedaling cadence should be. While the cadence, resistance, and heart rate indicators attempt to synchronize, often it's difficult to match everything at the same time. Start out using either cadence or resistance while matching the effort goals. Much like the effort tool, the power tool provides a graphical representation of how much power the cyclist is producing during a given time. The power tool is a nice alternative or backup to the resistance and gear ratio tools. The power tool is a much more accurate way to identify sudden changes in power. At the top of this tool is a number that reflects a percentage of maximum power. What is maximum power, you might ask? This is a little bit more tricky. Unlike max heart rate, your max power is a minimum average over a given time interval. For example, suppose you're sprinting for the finish line. The competition is fierce, and you're out of the saddle hustling for all you're worth. You cross the finish 30 seconds after you begin your sprint and then rest. Now, suppose you're looking at the power profile for this effort. You might discover that the first 5 seconds you're generating about 800 watts. During the next 5 seconds, you're generating 750 watts. And then after that, 700 watts, and so on. As you get tired, your power slowly tapers off. Finding your max power over 30 seconds is simply an average power output over that 30-second interval. This is a much more accurate means of finding your max than trying to find an instantaneous max power output. Your percentage of max is calculated by dividing your current power output by your max. Most power computers can automatically generate the percentage of max value for you. The dashboard has 3 graphs. These are a really cool way to find out where you're located along the timeline of the ride. The graphs are divided by a bar, showing you where you're located along them. The top graph displays a hill profile. The middle graph displays the effort profile, and the bottom displays the power profile. Keeping your eyes on these are a great way to identify changes as they approach. The moving map provides some nice information about where you're cycling. Roads, topography, landmarks, rivers, lakes, and more can be identified so you don't feel lost on the ride. Also note, north is always up. I'm done. Have a great workout.